Hi there, welcome to Lilly-Tree. Today we're looking at how to create the herringbone wrap. And if you want to see more techniques and tutorials like this one, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get wrapping. I made a video a while back that showed how to create the double herringbone wrap, and I'll link to that later, but I know that confused some people, so I hope that by showing this single herringbone wrap, which is great in its own right, will also help with making the double wrap. So to make this, you need a round bead to wrap, and I recommend 6 to 8mm in diameter, although you can do other sizes. I'm using an 8mm today. A base wire that needs to go through the bead. It's generally better to have a thicker wire and something that won't bend too easily. Mine here is 1mm in diameter, which is 18 gauge. And then thinner wire for the wrap. I'm using 0.4 and I'd probably go up to a 0.6. For the herringbone wrap, I found it's best to start with a complete flush loop. So we're going to make that first. I'd take the end of the thinner wire and leaving a small tail, wrap it completely round the thicker wire. Make sure that loop's nice and tight. Then I'll slide it off that thicker wire and trim the end so I've got a full loop. And the end meets the rest of the wire. I'll then use my flat nose pliers to make sure that loop is straight and flush. This just means there's no end to interfere with the wrap. To start the wrap, we'll add the bead and centre it on that base wire, and then thread on the loop. Now this single herringbone wrap has a top and a bottom. Where the wrapping wire is coming over the base wire is the side that will be the top. So we'll take that wire around the side of the bead. Make sure it's wrapped nicely and touching the bead. Then over the base wire at the other side of the bead and wrap once around that base wire. We'll then take that wrapping wire around the other side of the bead, over the base wire, and wrap once again. And at this point you can decide how open you want the weave to be on the bead. You can push those wires a little closer together if you want less of the bead showing, or gently open them up to show more of the bead. And that puts our first wraps in place. For the second round, we're going to take that wire around the bead again, making sure that wire's behind the first one, just sitting next to it, and then back over the base wire and wrap it once. Then we'll wrap the other side, taking that wire behind the existing wrap, over the base wire and around it once. And then we just need to carry on wrapping in the same way. Taking that wrapping wire around the side of the bead behind the last wrap, over the base wire and around that base wire once. And you can carry on doing this as many times as you like to get the effect that you want. I've put 7 wraps on each side, and I think that's the size I want it to be. So we're just going to finish off by wrapping the weaving wire 2 or 3 times around the base wire. and then trimming it off. And just make sure that end's tucked close to the base wire. Now that finishes our wrap. So you have the wrap at the front, and as you can see, the back's quite hollow. I'm going to make this into a link, so I'm just going to trim that base wire. Bend it where the weaving wire finishes. And make a loop at each end. I can then attach these links together with jump rings to make the start of a bracelet. You can also use these herringbone wraps to make earrings, or within other projects like this wirework pendant, and I'll put a link to this tutorial at the end of the video. But I mentioned earlier the double herringbone wrap, and I want to show you the link that I've just made with the garnet, next to an earring I made with the double herringbone wrap. They look fairly similar from the front, but if you look carefully, the wraps on the double herringbone weave are slightly further apart than with the single. And the real difference comes when you turn the pieces over. The single wrap that we just made has a hollow back, whereas with the double herringbone weave, you're basically wrapping two herringbone weaves at the same time, so that looks the same on the back as the front. And if you want to see how to make the double herringbone wrap, I'll link the tutorial in a card above and in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and head over to my website for more hints, tips and projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.